We're in Toledo for the national championship next on ESPN. A year ago, he became only the second player in PBA history to go over $2 million in career earnings. Pete Weber has 23 career titles, including the PBA's Triple Crown. But he is always wanting more. And apparently so is Tom Baker, the hottest bowler on tour this year. He's making his third championship round appearance in 5 weeks. But standing in their way is the talented and excitable Jim Johnson Jr.
Come on, baby, strike. Winner, brother! Winner, brother!
Emotions are running high. On the line today, the first major title of 1998. Welcome to Ducat's Imperial Lanes in Toledo, Ohio, where after 56 games of grueling qualifying, only 5 bowlers are still standing and in a position to be the national champion. Our 5th seed is in his 11th year on tour, looking to win his first major, Jim Johnson Jr. from Tampa, Florida. Mike Aulby is our 4th seed today, and no stranger to these lanes. The Hall of Famer is looking for his 3rd national championship. Seeded 3rd, the hottest bowler on tour in 1998. He's made the championship round for the 3rd time in 5 weeks, the veteran Tom Baker. Our 2nd seed is another Hall of Famer. It's his 3rd championship round appearance here in Toledo. Could this be the year for David Ozio? And our top seed today, he won here in 1989, one of only 4 Triple Crown winners in PBA history, Pete Weber. And hello again, everybody. I'm Mike Bush, and thanks for joining us here in Toledo for the PBA National Championship. And if this were baseball, you could call our lineup today Murderer's Row. There are 69 titles between our 5 finalists, and 4 of our 5 finalists are millionaires on the PBA Tour. Alongside is the PBA Hall of Famer, my partner, Marshall Holman. And Marshall, especially impressive this week, the performances of Tom Baker, who's getting more airtime this year than you are, and of Pete Weber.
Well, you're absolutely right, Mike. I mean, we've got 5 great bowlers this week. Let's take a look at Pete Weber. This is only his 2nd tournament of 1998, but he finds himself in that very familiar position of having to bowl just 1 game for the PBA National Championship. And then we have Tom Baker. His 3rd top 5 of the year, hasn't won yet. He thinks it's time to take it all the way. A great top 5 for you. Coming up that first match.
And our first round match today features a righty and a lefty. Jim Johnson Jr. is the righty, 37-year-old from Tampa, Florida, a 10-year pro, looking for his 2nd career title. This is his 11th year on tour. The lefty, the PBA Hall of Famer, with 25 career titles, Mike Aulby. Jim Johnson Jr. up first. And that's the way the national championship begins.
And a quality shot for Jim Johnson Jr. as we take a look from behind. Not a lot of hook. Good projection. Watch the 6-pin. Just lays in the channel. Does not knock out the 10.
And for the spare on lane 25 to open the championship, Jim Johnson Jr. Mike Aulby is in his 20th year on tour. Simply one of the best of all time. 25 career titles. He's won here twice before. On the money with his first roll.
Trying to assert a little early pressure on Jim Johnson Jr. Take a look at the familiar style of Mike Aulby. Very soft with the release. Playing the outside line, and the ball hooks up right where he would like it. Now he wants to take that early 10-pin lead here, Mike, with a double in the 2nd frame.
You can see, though, he struggled on these 2 lanes during the week, averaging just over 199 on our TV pair.
And a beautiful shot leaves the solid 7-pin. Take a look. Look how far that ball is on the left side of the lane as it hooks up, and watch the 4-pin right around the 7.
Mike missed the national championship last year because he was ill. It's the only time in 20 years he's missed this event. Trying to make up for that miss a year ago by winning the tournament here in 1998.
And in a match that would look on paper as if it's a complete mismatch, with Mike Aulby being the overwhelming favorite, believe me, Mike does not take this man for granted. Jim Johnson Jr., very good bowler, and they're bowling a one-game match. Anything can happen.
And following the spare in the first, Jim Johnson with a strike here in the second. He has been here for more than a week. He was bowling in all the Pro-Ams Saturday and Sunday, and last week he said it really helped him get ready for this week, Marshall.
As you can see right there, doesn't play a lot of hook, likes the down and in line. Very accurate player, and with today's equipment, he is a devastating striker. Lots of 300 games, has 56 to his credit. And
another strike.
He takes the early lead with a strike in the third frame.
So Johnson starts out with a spare and then follows that with 2 strikes.
And he knows how important it is to take the lead early, put the pressure on the veteran Mike Aulby.
Aulby in the third. Oh, and the 7 tumbles down.
Well, there's another solid 7-pin, except this time the 4-pin just barely gets to it. Take a look. The 4-pin is going to do the damage on the 7, but it's going to take a while.
There it is.
I think that was a smile saying, I deserve that.
He set a tour record in 1995 by averaging 225. That was the year he was the player of the year.
Well, Mike Aulby answers Jim Johnson Jr. with a double of his own, now evening up the match.
So Mike Aulby with a couple of strikes. That's what Jim Johnson is working on. He'll be up when we come back. Brought to you by Ginkova. Sharpen your concentration with Ginkova, the natural supplement. Think better. Think Ginkova. By Brunswick. Line up with the perfect lineup from Brunswick. And by Grecian Formula. Grecian Formula gets rid of gray gradually, so you decide how young you look. It's our opening round match here at the National Championship in Toledo, Ohio. Jim Johnson Jr. in the fourth frame, working on 2 strikes.
He's been sitting for a couple of minutes. Let's see how he handles the pressure of Mike Aulby coming back with a double. He likes it off his hand, but it did not take the 10-pin out. You could see he started to run that ball out, but just didn't quite have the leverage. Wasn't able to knock the 10 out.
It's really interesting that a lot of these bowlers will get to the line. They pretty much know as soon as they release the ball that it's going to be a strike or not. But occasionally they'll leave that 7 or 10.
Well, you can see a nice spare for Jim Johnson Jr. When the ball goes off your hand, there's Jim Johnson Jr.'s mother.
That's Lois. In fact, Jim said this week, Marshall, that one of the reasons he's feeling better is because his mom has agreed to undergo bypass surgery. In fact, this Tuesday, she was thinking about not doing it, and that had Jim all upset, but apparently she's going to do it. Rooting for Jim to win this tournament here.
Come on, can he kick that out? There it goes. There it goes. I'm not sure what pin that was, but I saw it moving around down there, and Lois says, "Atta boy, son."
It was his mom and dad who got Jim started as a bowler. Jim says he was at bowling centers before he could walk because his mom was in the league and she'd take him there in the stroller.
Now, Jim was very fortunate. As you can see, the ball goes right through the heart. Now, what's going to take out that 7-pin? There's the
still moving.
There's the 3-pin. It's going to knock the 4-pin into the 7-pin, and it falls.
And that's Mike Aulby in the 5th frame with a strike. 3 in a row now for Aulby. And a 13-pin lead.
Re-rack, please. Re-rack.
Mike's taking a re-rack, and as we've said in the past, If you want a re-rack on tour and you're only allowed to have 2 in any given game on the championship round, you have to do it as your first order of business. You look at the pins, you tell the tournament director re-rack. If you pick your ball up or go to the rosin or do anything before, you will not be granted that re-rack.
Is there anybody on tour better mentally than this man?
Well, there may be a couple that would rival him, but certainly no one better. Mike Aulby handles his emotions better than anyone on our tour today. And a little intensity for the man from Indianapolis. We'll take a look at Mike Aulby from behind. Solid 4-step approach. Really using a lot of hook. No problem there.
4 in a row now for Aulby. Johnson now up in the 6th frame.
That's got to hurry. And in talking with the bowlers earlier, the right-hand lane did not hook back as strongly as the left-hand lane. That'll be something to watch as we get further into the telecast.
Jim, by the way, is a diabetic, which presents some unique problems. It's hard to eat right on the road, as you might know. So he feels a little weak. He has not been feeling weak this week, however.
And he made a great shot at picking up the washout. Tries to send it in, but he sends it around.
Whoa.
Tough break for Jim Johnson Jr.
The other thing about being a diabetic, he says he doesn't have much feeling from his knees to his feet. He says he could walk on hot coals without any problem.
And it's a marvel that he does as good as he does out here on the tour, and he finds himself making a bad shot. That happens so often. You come in light on one lane, and it's almost like a subconscious adjustment you make for the other lane. He comes in high. Something has amused him. He's, I'll tell you what, a lot of pressure and still a big smile right up till he releases the ball.
He knows he's got it. Picks up the 6-10, gets the spare in the 7th. So a 38-pin lead for Mike Aulby, and he's up next when we come back. We're on the internet. Check out the PBA's new website address at www.pbatour.com. The site sponsored by Brunswick features the latest tournament standings, stories, and stats, and coming soon, live chat with the pros. The PBA in cyberspace. And Mike Aulby back here in Toledo in the 7th frame with a 38-pin lead in our opening round match against Jim Johnson Jr., the Hall of Famer.
And with strikes in the 7th and 8th frame, Mike could really all but shut this match out. That ball looked to be a little bit right of his target, but held the pocket. He's found himself a little room. 5 in a row now for Aulby, and a 48-pin lead. And that 199 average that he had on this pair for the 3 games he bowled on it in the tournament, a very distant memory.
Yeah. It's interesting. This is a guy who's had so much success, but he never sets any goals on tour. Didn't before, doesn't now. I guess that keeps the pressure off. We take another look at Mike Aulby. Classic style. We've seen him for years. When he gets going, he's able to maintain. Jim Johnson Jr. down 58 pins. Lane 26. He says, there it is. Gets the strike. His first since the 3rd frame. Jim Johnson, you'll notice a very straight trajectory down the lane. Sort of puts his arms out to say, well, that's what I'm trying to do. He made his first career telecast right here. Back in '89, I think. Yep. So he's comfortable out there. In '89, Pete Weber won it here. Perhaps an omen of things to come. Well, Jim Johnson would have liked to had a chance at Pete Weber today, but that is not to be. Mike Aulby is going to win this first game, and rather decisively. Kind of a relaxed looking Mike Aulby right now. Well, you know, it's pretty tough to bet against the 25-time titleist. He's got 6 strikes in a row this game, and he's just preparing
preparing himself for that match against Tom Baker.
Mike Aulby in the 9th. Looking for 7 in a row.
Now, I'm sure Tammy, his wife, and his children, Chris, nicknamed CJ, and daughter Danielle are watching right now in Indianapolis and loving it.
Aulby now in the 10th. He is on a roll.
And Mike, he's not just striking, he's hitting dead flush in the pocket striking. If I was Tom Baker, I'd be a little bit concerned right now.
Tom Baker will be his opponent in the 2nd round. Jim Johnson Jr. with a fine tournament. Will lose the opening round match, and Aulby again.
One more strike for 280 for Mike Aulby.
The second frame, we didn't notice.
Yeah.
9 in a row now for Mike Aulby.
A little surprised at that.
Jim Johnson making reference to the 2nd frame, the only frame Mike Aulby did not strike, but he was high flush in that one also.
And that's the way our opening round match ends, with Mike Aulby striking out from the 3rd frame on. And Jim Johnson Jr. will finish out his 1st round. And finally, he's found the range.
Yeah, a little too late for Jim Johnson, but in a very sportsmanlike way, he told Mike Aulby after Mike finished his game, don't stop. So Mike's got a fan in Jim Johnson Jr. right now.
3 weeks ago, Jim Johnson Jr. considered quitting the tour and getting a full-time job, and yet here he is today in our championship round at the national championship. And that's the thing about bowling, Marshall, is that these great bowlers, sooner or later, they'll find the tracking. They'll find their mark. Sometimes, though, it's just too late.
Well, the game goes by so quickly, Mike. It's amazing. You know, you look at 10 frames and you make a mistake early in the game, and then pretty much, the game's over. It just ends. It ends too fast sometimes, and unfortunately for Jim Johnson Jr.
We're pairing together next week again.
A big round of applause for Jim Johnson.
A big round of applause for Mike Aulby and Jim Johnson Jr. Our final score, Mike Aulby, a winner in our opening round match, 280 to 201. And now awaiting Mike Aulby in our 2nd round, Tom Baker. Back with that after this. Coming up, our 2nd round match here from Toledo, Ohio. It's the PBA National Championship, and it's Mike Aulby against Tom Baker. And don't forget college basketball at its best on ESPN and ESPN2. 9 days, 60 games, including 29 conference championships. We're also going to have exclusive coverage of the entire Big East tournament. It's championship week starting Saturday, February 28th, and culminating with the men's and women's selection specials on Sunday, March 8th. Championship week on ESPN and ESPN2. And let's go down to Marshall Holman.
Thank you, Mike. I'm here with Jim Johnson Jr. And Jim, he shoots 280. What are you going to do?
Well, not a whole lot. I tried to hammer him early when because struck out for 290, but the shots didn't go. So I didn't bowl my best game, and he did. So he deserved to win.
Well, he certainly did bowl a great game. It was nice to have your mother here, and we certainly wish her all the best.
Yeah, it's one of my incentives this week to get her out here to watch me bowl, because she loves it when I'm bowling well, and it helped, and I'm glad she was able to make it.
Well, a great week for the Johnsons, and we'll send it back to you, Mike.
All right, thanks, Marshall. Thanks to Jim Johnson Jr. and the man in the green shirt, Tom Baker. If you've been watching our telecast in 1998, you are familiar with Tom Baker, the 43-year-old from Buffalo, New York. We mentioned at the top that this is his 3rd championship round appearance in our 5 telecasts this year. He is off to an awesome season. He's going to have his work cut out against the Hall of Famer Mike Aulby from Indianapolis, who beat Jim Johnson Jr. in our opening round match. And Mike Aulby begins our 2nd round match with a strike.
Mike Aulby doing the same thing he did the entire first match. Not only is he striking, but he's hitting high flush in the pocket. He's not really having any room for any error. First shot for Tom Baker. He answers back with a strike of his own. And Mike, I really think Tom is going to have to pull out his A+ game to have any chance against Mike Aulby. Mike Aulby is so locked in right now.
Let's talk about the advantage that lefties sometimes have on the lanes. Not so much in our first match, because there are more righties. Every time a righty throws the ball, the oil of the lanes is affected, and the more righties, the more effect. Baker with another strike. And lefties, Marshall, coming from the other side, pretty much make their own tracks, don't they?
Well, they do. And Mike, I really think it's an advantage to be right-handed as far as consistency is concerned. But from the left side, sometimes maybe a little easier to take it all the way and win. But Mike Aulby, he's out there on his own. There are 4 right-handers, and only Mike's the only left-hander.
He's got 11 in a row. Make it 12.
And once again, I mean, usually you throw a shaker, a mixer-upper strike, trip a 6-pin. Mike Aulby is not doing anything except just going flush as they all disappear.
And that's 12 in a row for Mike Aulby, which
that's the end
in the same game. That's a 300.
That's the Andy Verapapa 300 game.
The what?
Andy Verapapa 300 game. He was the bowler who was a great man and bowled for many years. Lived to be almost 100 years old and worked most of that time.
Whoops.
Well, there's the first mistake from Mike Aulby, and it's going to cost him. He'll just try and get 9 pins out of this. Just go for the 2, make the 6 and the 10. If something bounces out, well, that'd be great.
Leaving the 4, 6, 10. And the open frame in the 3rd for Mike Aulby.
We take a look at some of the other finishers this week. Dale Eagle just missing, finishing 6th, and Brian Voss had a tough 150 game in the last 8 games of match play that really hurt his chances.
And Baker with his 3rd strike.
And now the momentum definitely with Tommy Baker. And we talked about Mike Aulby hitting high flush all the time. Watch Tom Baker. Got that little twirl shot going, been working great for him. Watch him hit light, mix them up. Bowler's best friend.
Baker is still looking for his first win of 1998, even though he's getting a lot of airtime.
Very important to keep it going for Tom. That looks like it could be high. He gets another great break, trips out the 4-pin. It was high in the pocket, but not so high that it can't strike.
And so Tom Baker begins our 2nd round match with 4 in a row. Mike Aulby is down 35 pins. He's got some work to do, and he'll try to do it when we come back. Scholarship Tournament. You can find information on how to enter the American Scholarship Tournament by visiting the PBA's website at www.pbatour.com or by dialing 1-888-BOWL-AST. Mike Aulby in the 4th frame, down 35 pins to Tom Baker in our 2nd round match.
And early in the match, it really becomes a must situation for Mike Aulby. We take a look from behind. Nice shoulder high backswing. A little better speed this time. A little slow in the last frame. Came up with a big split. Now back on that lane where he did throw the split. Let's see if he keeps his speed up. As you can see, Mike Aulby, 81st career championship round appearance.
Aulby in the 5th with a strike.
He says, hey, Baker, I'm still here. He knows how important this strike is.
Seems like a real mild-mannered Clark Kent type until he gets out on the lanes.
He gets excited.
Baker in the 5th.
And a bad break for Tommy Baker. Wraps a 6 around the 10 pin. There's the ringing 10. Well, we saw Mike Aulby leave a ringing 7. Watch this pin go right around. That's the 6 pin. Goes right around the bottom of the 10. And needs to make the spare. No problem for Tom Baker, who really, he looks comfortable on television.
Only see
and as we take a look at our 8th and 9th place players, Walter Ray Williams Jr., who made the show last week, and the excitable, the original Ernie Schlegel.
I mentioned you only see the 5 finalists, but the format is a little different here in Toledo. Oh, he gets it.
Well, he tripped the 4 pin on lane 25 the last time. Might be time for Bakes to move in just a little bit on 25. If we take a look, it's coming right at you. Watch the 4 pin. It gets tripped up. A little friendly trip of the 4. Mike Aulby with a chance. Down by 24. Can make it 14 with a strike here and really get himself right back in the match.
Free flush.
So Aulby leaves the 9 pin here in the 6th.
And you heard him. He said pretty flush. That was as good as it's going to get as far as the way that he threw the ball. The unfortunate solid 9. But you could see Mike Aulby did not over-emotionalize or get upset with it. All you can do as a player is get up there and make the best shot possible. Mike Aulby did that. Really, he was just dealt an extraordinarily bad break at a bad time, and for Tom Baker, he'll take it.
Talking about the format here at the PBA National Championship, it is, Marshall, a little more challenging. Our normal weekly format is 42 games. It's a 56-game format here.
And it gives the better bowlers a chance to hang in there and make that late charge.
It's a hurry.
Well, a good shot for Mike, but coming in.
7 pin still standing.
He comes in a little bit light. Most of Mike's shots have been flush in the pocket. This is a little bit of a half pocket shot. You'll watch the 4 pin. It just lays in the channel, does not get out and get the 10.
Down by 26 pins. Mike Aulby in the 7th. And the spare in the 7th. And we check our score. Mike Aulby trailing by 26 to Tom Baker. And now here's a word from the PBA Tour.
The PBA presents how to bowl like the pros. Step 1, practice precise footwork. Step 2, maintain proper bowling posture. Step 3, always follow through. And remember, keep your composure. For more tips on how to bowl like the pros, watch the PBA Tour on
Tom Baker up by 26 pins. Tonight on ESPN at 9 p.m. Eastern from the D.C. Armory in Washington, D.C., it's IFB Flyweight Boxing. The title on the line, scheduled for 12 rounds. The champion Mark Johnson will put his 33-1-0 record on the line, against Arthur Johnson, who's 17-3-0. He's from St. Louis, Missouri. And that's ESPN Championship Boxing tonight on ESPN.
Right now, Tom Baker going at a 229 pace. Mike Aulby can strike out for 233. It's still fairly early in the match. This will put him into the 230s, working on 230s. He's got it. And Tom Baker really has the wider of the 2 pockets. Watches the ball enters the pocket. It hits light, but he's able to scatter the pins around. Mike Aulby's only strikes have come when he's been high flush. And when you have to be that precise, even though Mike was able to do it the first game, very difficult to keep it going.
Baker for 3 in a row.
Well, he made the adjustment. That's the lane that he tripped the 4-pin on back-to-back times. Moved a little bit deeper on the approach. Was able to get a little more oil on the ball to hold it through the front of the lane. Made his best shot of the game on lane 25 and only got 9.
See, he had some success on these lanes during the week. Mike Aulby down by 35 pins. Up now in the 8th.
And it's very simple for Mike Aulby. If you want to win this match and get a chance to keep going against David Ozio, Mike, you must strike out, and you're going to need some help from Tom Baker as well. A tough task.
And there's the strike in the 8th. Aulby always likes to put the pressure on.
Well, he's going to keep working hard and making the best shots he possibly can. As I said earlier, he must have this strike to have any chance.
He's got some fans here in Toledo. Aulby in the 9th.
And you heard him, Mike. He said, how about a break? He was being a little bit, he was almost being Marshall Holman sarcastic with that. I like that, Mike. Take a look at this shot. He throws it. He's asking for a break, but he knows it's going to be high flush in the pocket. There's your break, Mike. Great shot. The result you deserved.
Baker up by 25.
With a couple of marks. That's, ooh, that ball held the pocket nicely. I thought that might creep up a little bit high. All Tom Baker needs to do is mark in the 10th. We'll take a look. I really thought this ball might creep up a little bit high. Tom Baker wasn't worried about it. Oh, yes.
This is a guy who had some down years in the early 1990s. He had wrist surgery, came up with this new stance, and what a year he's having in 1998.
Needs to make the spare. If he spares here, be 218 in the 9th, and he would need 6 pins on his fill, which is academic. Tom knows the importance. You do not want to give Mike Aulby any chance. Shut him out right here with this spare.
The spare.
And no problem for Tom Baker. I would think that Tom might amp up the speed a little bit on this and kind of give her a little bit of the high hard one, although Bakes is not known for his great velocity on the ball. More of a finesse player. That's it. Tom Baker, he's your winner.
Tom Baker winding up with a 238 in our second round match, so he will advance to meet David Ozio. And Mike Aulby, right after this tournament, is headed off to Decatur, Illinois, where his son CJ, 8 years old, is competing in a A-Mite hockey tournament. Mike Aulby on his way to Decatur with a nice paycheck for the week, finishing in 4th here at the National Championship.
And I don't think we'll have to wait too long before Mike will be back on our telecast. As he finishes up making the spare with a strike here in the fill ball, he'll shoot 210, but that won't help him out against that man's 238.
Baker and Ozio in our third round match coming up. And that's how Mike Aulby ends his week in Toledo, finishing with a 208 and wishing Tom Baker a lot of luck in the third round match against David Ozio. Baker over Aulby 238 to 208. Baker and Ozio when we come back. It's our first major title of the year, the national championship. In the first round, Mike Aulby over Jim Johnson Jr. And then Aulby defeated in our second round by Tom Baker, 238 to 208. We're trying to help your bowling game all year long. Now here's this week's Score More with Brunswick.
No matter what the lane conditions are like, bowlers must be able to make the proper adjustments in order to accommodate their particular games. But equally as important is being able to make a good, committed, positive release. Without that positive commitment at the bottom of the swing, that's only going to lead to a tentative release and to lower scores. So what I want to see when you release the ball is acceleration from the backswing coming through and ripping through the pins. Now, who does this better than anybody? Walter Ray Williams Jr. Now let's watch Walter from a previous telecast and watch at the bottom of the swing. Everything looks normal here. Watch the way, bang, right at the bottom of the swing. He really, really rips through that. And that does two things. Number one, if he's lined in, he's got a great chance of striking. And if it's early in the game and he's not quite sure where to play the lanes, he's going to get some good feedback, so he'll know the next time he gets up on that lane how to make the proper adjustment. So what do you do to make that committed release? Well, there are a couple of things. First, you need to trust your game, trust your swing, and be aggressive through the release zone. Many years ago, Billy Whaley said it best when he said, "Trust is a must, or your game is a bust." In the 90s, that still applies.
David Ozio waiting in the wings. In our third round match, he'll meet Tom Baker. Ozio making his third championship round appearance here in Toledo. Oh, and don't forget, you want some stylish shirts, sweatshirts, sweaters, and jackets featuring the PBA logo? Well, they're all available by calling toll-free at 1-800-PBA-TOUR. PBA apparel provided by Spectrum Merchandising and Munsingware. Comes in a variety of styles and colors. 1-800-PBA-TOUR for more information. With our top seed, Marshall Holman standing by. Marshall?
Pete, you've won 23 tournaments. You're going for 24 in your second PBA National. How do you feel?
Marshall, I felt great all week. I don't have any complaints about anything. I'm just going to go out and throw 12 of the best balls I've thrown in 2 years.
Now you've got a couple more tournaments to win to pass up Daddy Dick Weber. Is that going to happen soon?
Well, when I win this one, I'm going to get with 24. He's got 26. Dad, I'm going to be within 2, and I will pass before I'm done.
He's going to get you, Dick. I'll tell you. Back up to you, Mike.
All right, Pete, Marshall. Pete Weber, our top seed. You mentioned he's got 23 titles, but he has to await the winner of this match, our third round match, David Ozio and Tom Baker. Baker is up first on lane 25. And Tom Baker is doing a great job striking in the second round match. Leaves one standing here in the third round match. And now
changes balls, makes the 10 pin. He doesn't get a lot of it, but he says, hey, that's okay. Just, just a little tap on the 10 pin and she's down. Now our first look at David Ozio, who's really coming out of a huge slump. And a player with so much ability, you would think he would never be in a slump. He leaves the 2 pin, comes a little light. And in talking with Brian Berg, who is the ball rep that helps David Ozio out, he said the main focus for David was to not think. Get that analytical brain out of the game and react like the athlete that he is.
Picks up the spare.
Take a look at a few more finalists. Michael Haugen Jr., who was on our telecast a few weeks ago in 10th, and Tim Chris Warren. He was up there, and my old play-by-play partner, Mike Durbin. Way to go, buddy. Nice finish in 13th place.
Ozio in the second frame follows the spare with a strike.
And the classic form of David Ozio, teach your son or daughter to throw it like this. Beautiful shot, David. He knows it's close. Will it carry? Yes, it does.
He's got that great knee flex.
Well, he's got the whole physical package and just needs to keep his mind out of it. Here goes Baker going for a strike.
Another 10 pin.
Another 10 pin for Bakes. Last week on our telecast, a similar thing happened. A player would bowl a good game and win, and then come up against the next and lose. So we're seeing a pattern developing here on Pro Bowlers Tour. As you see, Bakes with a 17-6-1 record. That'll get it done.
Yes, he picked up the spare. And so Baker begins with a spare in the first, a spare in the second. And he'll move over to lane 25, looking for his first strike in our third-round match.
Well, take a look at Tom Baker shooting for the 10-pin. Changes balls, hard and straight, no problem. But right now, spares aren't going to get it done for Tom. Needs to start striking. Remember last game, Tom? It looks something like that. Mike, as amazing as it seems, the PBSC, who drills the bowling balls for the players, there was a 150-man field. They drilled 405 balls. As we take a look, Jeff Moran finishing 14th, and Brian Smith, talented right-hander from Southern Oregon.
Ozio in the third. And again, a little light.
And as I said at the top of the telecast, the right-handers had trouble with lane 26 because the ball was hanging. Not as much finish on the right-hand lane, not as much finish drive into the pocket. And David also said that he was squaring up his body even more to try and go extraordinarily direct.
Well, he's been working on his swing just like you would in golf. He uses an elaborate teaching computer. He says he was throwing it too much inside out.
Gotta hurry.
And David Ozio picking up the 2-4-8.
And he keeps his 1-pin lead, but Tom Baker now has the strike working. David Ozio trying to get another string started, a string of 1 on lane 25.
One thing about this guy, he is, and he'll call himself this, he's a perfectionist, not just in bowling, but in everything he does. We were in the press room yesterday, and some papers were not piled up properly, and he needed to straighten them out. And he straightens those pins and knocks them down. A strike in the fourth for Ozio.
Well, Ozio, kind of a nuts and bolts kind of guy, whether he is bowling or fishing, as he loves his bass fishing. He likes to break it down into pieces and then figure out the best way to put it back together. Little distraction, or probably not a distraction as much as Tom Baker has trouble sometimes getting a good feel of the ball, has trouble getting his hand comfortable in the ball, and won't throw it until he does.
You can see the concentration in his eyes.
That ball bounced on him.
He still got it.
Wow, that ball was off his hand in kind of a funny way. Sort of double dribbled it and landed right in the flush in the pocket. Take a look. 6-pin does the damage. We'll take a look. Watch this ball kind of fall off his hand. Ba-bang.
Yeah.
Ba-bang. Is that a word? That is now.
A 9-pin lead for Baker.
He's got that expanded pocket I talked about in the last game. It's just such a great friend. When you don't have to hit high flush in the pocket to strike, everything loosens up. The game becomes very easy.
Ba-bang.
Thank you.
Ozio now in the fifth.
How do you spell that? Needs to get the ball up to pocket, makes the adjustment, and he gets a break himself. That's the lane he came in light on 2 times in a row. Made sure to get the ball up to pocket and almost overcooked it. Take a look at the beautiful style of David Ozio. So watch this ball travel over about the 9 board. Comes in high. Give me a break.
Yeah. This was your 1991 PBA Player of the Year. He made 8 telecasts that year, won 4 titles. Trying to come out of his slump. And that's 3 in a row now for David Ozio.
Looked like
in our third-round match.
It looked as if after that shot, he just sort of turned around and took a look at Tom Baker as to say, yes, here I am.
So David Ozio with 3 in a row. Tom Baker also working on 3 in a row. And Baker is up when we come back to Toledo. Today at 5:30 Eastern on ESPN, the best in senior golf take to the links in Florida for final round coverage of the American Express Invitational. Hale Irwin, Buddy Allen on hand to defend his title. He'll be challenged by Larry Nelson, J.C. Snead, many other top seniors. Final round coverage today on ESPN. 6th frame now for Tom Baker, trailing by only 1 to David Ozio.
Ozio making a little bit of a statement in his last couple of shots, and got a great match for you.
And Baker with another strike. 4 in a row now for Tom Baker, the 43-year-old from Buffalo, New York.
Take a look at this coming right at you. Baker's going to use that expanded pocket. Watch these pins. Racing right over. That's the 5-pin that does the damage. And there's the reaction of a man who knows he's got a little room.
We told you in past weeks that Tom loves alternative music. But after a few weeks of listening to Bush, he said he felt more mellow this week, and it was Sarah McLachlan on the CD, and it seems to be working for Tom Baker. Another strike in the 7th, putting the pressure on David Ozio, down by 19 in the 7th.
Well, David Ozio back on the right-hand lane, light, and then he trips the 4-pin. Is he dialed in?
I'd say so.
Best shot he's made on lane 26.
4 in a row now for Ozio.
You see Ozio, he's playing further outside. Watch the 6-pin. It'll chop it out.
Marshall mentioned that they're yelling. Oh,
Well, they're doing
Ozio.
the Ozio from the Wizard of Oz. You're not in Kansas anymore, David.
And another strike.
Great shot from David Ozio. He's over there talking to those fans. Give me some of that.
And a 1-pin lead now for Ozio.
Going back and forth.
So it's Baker in the 8th. Back to lane 26.
Both players on 5 in a row. That better stop. That was high, and there is the break that really is going to enhance David Ozio's chances. Tom Baker has to regroup himself. He's going to need to change balls and give this a chance. Watch, it just goes right through the heart. Very not surprising he left the split. What does he have to do to make it? He's got to get to the right-hand side.
To pick up the 6-7.
No, did not get to the right of the 6-pin. 9 out. And finds himself in 15 pins in the rears. We take a look at Roger Bowker, who is a champion this year, and John Mazza from Shelby Township, Michigan.
Baker in the 9th.
And comes in high again, and Bakes may be losing a little bit of the feel for the ball. That's always been one of his problems, is he does not keep that comfortable feel of the ball from game to game. And it looks as if
Picks up the 4-7.
Tom Baker in his 3rd finals this year looks like he's not going to make it through. But David Ozio is going to have to close him out, and he's got the opportunity.
Up by 15 here in the 9th. As Marshall mentioned, David Ozio with yet another strike here in the 9th.
Take a look at this beautiful backswing. Nice release. Follow through straight to his target. Hits light in the pocket. The pins respond. And Mike, just watching David Ozio bowl, I mean, it truly is poetry in motion. He's always been regarded as having, if not the most beautiful game, right up there with a Brian Voss or a Parker Bowl III from the left-hand side of the lane. He really is very talented.
Going for 7 in a row.
There's your winner. He's going to be bowling for the title against Pete Weber. It's been a while for David Ozio, but he knows how to win. Once again, David Ozio with that classic style. I love that follow-through. I mean, it doesn't go left, it doesn't go right. It's directly at his target.
His high finish last year was 6th in Wichita. So this is a long time coming. And David Ozio.
And it's almost a look of relief on David Ozio's face. He knows what a struggle it's been for the last, especially the last 5 or 6 months. He's bowled very, very poorly by his own admission. But all of that easily forgotten as Tom Baker realizes that third place is the best he's going to do. David Ozio, a strike here.
9 in a row.
2-7-0. And bring on Pete Weber, he says.
David Ozio closes out Tom Baker in our third round match. He finishes up with a 270. And Baker will just have to make yet another championship round appearance next week to go for that first win of 1998.
It's got to be a little bit upsetting. You know, you only have so many opportunities out here, and Tom Baker not able to cash in to get that title, although he's making himself some pretty good change being on our show every week. Well, seems like every week.
And now he's found it again. 2 strikes in the 10th. Finished with a 230 something, depending on the fill ball. But David Ozio will advance to meet Pete Weber in our 4th round match, our championship round match. Recurring character in our TV broadcasts, Mr. Tom Baker.
He bowls a great game, 235. That'll win a lot of matches, but against David Ozio's 270, it's not going to happen today.
So David Ozio advances. Tom Baker will try to make the championship round for the 4th time this year next week in Erie, Pennsylvania. Ozio told me that he has a vision that he's going to win 2 more tournaments. Will one of those come today? Mike Bush back in Toledo getting ready for our championship match. David Ozio against Pete Weber. Let's recap what has happened so far in our first round match. Mike Aulby over Jim Johnson Jr. and then Aulby losing to Tom Baker in our second round match. And then Baker goes down to David Ozio in our third round match, 270 to 235. Don't forget, next Sunday, March 1st at 4:30 Eastern, it's the Storm Flagship Open from Eastway Lanes in Erie. Join us as the PBA returns to Erie, Pennsylvania for the 8th consecutive year. And then Sunday, March 15th at noon Eastern, it's the Greater Albany Senior Open. Be with us as the PBA Senior Tour kicks off their 1998 season.
We'll take a look at some other finishers. Brad Snell in 18th, and our stat man, Harry Sullen's having a good week. Mr. Consistency, Doug Kent and Brian LeClaire from New York State, both. C.K. Moore still bowling well. Looking forward to that birth of his child, and Anthony Lombardo in 23rd. Steve Hoskins, he won our TPC last year, had trouble in match play, and our alternate, Kent Bergen.
Pete Weber and David Ozio shake hands before our championship round match. Weber, our top seed. Ozio seeded second in this tournament.
And I'd like to wish a belated happy anniversary to my mom and dad, 47 years yesterday. Congratulations.
Congratulations to them.
And now we go into a match of a couple of great competitors, and we're going to see some clinch fists. We're going to see some sneers. We're going to see everything. I'm looking forward to it.
David Ozio to begin on lane 25. Putting the pressure on quickly. Ozio with a strike in the first.
Well, who wants it more? I think it's a flat-footed tie, and here we go with Pete, one of the greatest players in the history of our game. Very talented Pete Weber, in only his second tournament of the 1998 campaign.
And Weber.
He told me that he had a little more room to the right today than he had in the past. And there is his lovely wife, Tracy, who, by the way, is mic'd.
Look of concern. Weber for the spare in the first.
Hard and straight. Great spare shooter. Doesn't want to give David Ozio too much too soon. Needs to start striking here in the second frame. You know, I alluded to him only bowling in his second tournament. He actually had a little bit of trouble last year and made a comment to the press that was maybe a little inappropriate. Was given a little bit of a vacation early in the year, but that's all behind him, and we'll be seeing a lot of Pete Weber, and it's good to have you back, Pete.
And he got the roll back in the second frame with the strike.
We'll take a look. Look at this backswing. He's way up above his head with the backswing. That nice release, the good arc into the pocket. He'd like to keep it there. David Ozio now up in the second frame for 10-pin lead. And he's giving fives to the people in the crowd. What do you got, your uncle here, David?
I'm not sure he was all that confident at release.
Well, we'll take a look at the reaction. Will it get there? You darn right it will. Let's go celebrate with somebody. You'll do.
He is such a competitor, loves a challenge. He says his kids hate playing Monopoly with him because he tries to win.
Yeah, he's going to try and crush you no matter what he's doing. And he'd love to be 20 up on Pete Weber.
And he is.
Oh, yes.
3 in a row for David Ozio. That's the way he begins our championship match.
The right-hand lane, the one that doesn't hook back quite as hard. Pete Weber left the 2-4-5 in the first frame. Must make some type of adjustment. Cut the deficit to 10 pins with a strike in the third.
Weber with a strike.
Now look at that. Yes. Pete Weber, a fan of bodybuilding and showing a little bit of it. As we see the ball coming right at us, watch the pins. He just opens them up. Just opens up the rack, and the great reaction from Pete Weber. Watch this. He's going to
show those eyes.
Look, the bodybuilder, Pete the bodybuilder Weber, all 135 pounds of him. For 3 in a row.
And he got it.
Look at that reaction. I'm telling you, there's a boy who got some one in him.
El Nino Weber.
Take a look at Pete Weber. We've seen this many times over the years. This is high flush. And you want to see a reaction from a player? Does he want to win this tournament? Come on, tell me about it.
We have equal parts Ozio fans and Weber fans.
Hang on, David.
4 in a row for David Ozio.
What a great start to the championship match. David Ozio, 4 in a row. Pete Weber with 3 strikes, trailing by 10. Pretty good stuff, don't you think, Mike?
This is exactly what you expected here in our championship match. 2 terrific competitors. David Ozio has been coming to bowling centers as far back as he can remember. Says he could keep score long before he could even bowl.
For 5 in a row in the 5th frame. That's got to stop. That's got to stop.
Oh.
And the solid
Nearly
9.
the wraparound.
The ball looked left off his hand. That's a product of reactive resin bowling balls. We'll take a look. Watch, the ball's going to cut right through in the pocket, but the 9-pin, nothing touches it. Almost. It'll be a spare for David as he makes the 9-pin. That's kind of a tough break, but the ball looked a little bit left on his hand.
So 4 strikes for Ozio, following with a spare in the 5th. And Pete Weber down by 9. Working on 3 in a row.
Pete Weber on the left-hand lane, he's gone flush. On the right-hand lane, 2-4-5, and then still a little light the last time.
He wastes very little time.
Oh, he's dialed in. He's got that lane now. You can see the way the professionals figure out the lanes. And take a look. Look how high this backswing is. It's way up there in the ceiling. We'll see the ball arc out nicely. Here's what you want. High in the pocket, flush in the pocket, with a 1-pin lead, going back to 25, which seemingly is his good lane. And a great break. Great reaction from Pete.
So Pete Weber gets a break in the 6th frame. He's got 5 in a row now in our championship match. David Ozio is down by 11. He's got some work to do when we come back to Toledo. Last year's Craftsman Truck Series. Look for number 88, the PBA Tour Chevrolet, for the 2nd consecutive year. And don't forget, tomorrow night on the Deuce, 11 p.m. Eastern, it's Worldwide Soccer. Highlights and analysis on soccer from across the world The most up-to-date information on the World Cup to be played this summer in France. Worldwide Soccer tomorrow on ESPN2. David Ozio trailing by 11 pins in the 6th frame in our championship match at the National Championship here in Toledo, Ohio.
Coveted national championship. David Ozio, he's only missed once this game. He's down by 11.
And a strike in the 6th.
And that one shot where he didn't strike, lane 25, the solid 9.
I mentioned, Marshall, that he's had this vision that he's going to win 2 more tournaments as a member of the PBA Tour. He's got 11 wins, 11 titles so far. He's in the Hall of Fame, but he says the number 13 keeps coming at him.
Well, he could go right past 13. He could win a lot more than that. He's got the great natural ability. He just lets it happen. Hurry up, ball. And he's heartbroken. That was a great shot. Solid 10. And a terrible time to happen for David Ozio.
These two guys show a lot of emotion.
We'll take a look. The ball's coming right into that living room of yours. Watch the 6-pin. Goes right around the 10. And the reaction of David Ozio is one of disbelief. Hard and straight.
There in the 7. Clips it.
And we'll take a look. Now watch David Ozio. He thinks, yes, it's going to go. Oh, my God.
I can't believe it.
No. Maybe not David Ozio's best side.
Pete Weber in the 7th.
Chance to up
5 in a row.
To up that lead to 20. That's got to really hurry. Look at that break. There's the break of a champion right there. My God.
His wife Tracy.
That a boy. Keep it going. Let's take a look at the pins, Mike. Hey, just barely touches the 2-pin, and it goes into the 4-pin, into the 5-pin, and oh yes.
This is a guy with so much talent, so much confidence.
You know, it's amazing. Pete Weber, who would have ever thought? I mean, if his father, Dick Weber, one of the greatest bowlers in the history of the game, how do you follow in those footsteps? I don't understand how he could do that. It's really a credit to his own ability. He came out here and established his own name, and now I think Dick Weber goes as Pete Weber's father.
And Ozio answers with a strike in the 8th, down by 31 pins.
And I think Dick Weber would prefer to be Pete Weber's
definitely would.
father.
One of the real class acts in all of sports, Pete's dad, Dick Weber.
Absolutely.
So David Ozio with a chance
to shoot 259 if he takes it out in the 9th and 10th frame, and he wants to have any chance at Pete Weber. He desperately needs a strike here on lane 25.
And he got it.
And he looks at the pins as if to say, well, it's about time.
Where were you the last time?
So we'll take a look at another textbook delivery from David Ozio. And he's just going to stand there and watch this. He knows it's great. Watch. Hands on the hip. What about this shot? Huh?
Weber in the 9th. Another strike for Pete Weber. Trying to add to his 21-pin lead. And it's now at 31.
Talked about expanding the strike zone earlier in the telecast. Pete Weber has done that, and in a very, very big way.
8 in a row for Weber.
There's your champion. Does he like it? Is he having any fun? Is he any good?
And the look of disappointment on the face of David Ozio.
And David gives him the congratulations. What a great champion Pete Weber is. And, you know, if there's one thing Pete Weber wants that he doesn't have, he wants to be Player of the Year, and he's got the talent that mandates him doing just that. I'm not not sure what he's saying, except I think he's saying hooray.
I'm not sure we want to know.
Good for you, Pete. We're proud of you.
He's a big pro wrestling fan, you know, and he promised himself a self-high five if he would win the national championship. And that's exactly what he has done, finishing with a 277. Of course, the PBA Triple Crown is when you win the national championship, the U.S. Open, and the Tournament of Champions. And Pete Weber, another one of our competitors, Mike Aulby, today is 2 of 4 Triple Crown winners, along with Billy Hardwick and Johnny Petraglia. And Pete Weber wins yet another major championship.
David Ozio finishing out the game, both a nice 236.
So Pete Weber in our championship round defeats David Ozio 277 to 236. And there is your national champion with the commissioner of the PBA, Mark Gerbrick. You can see that run of strikes that Weber had. And now let's take a look back at today's key moment thus far. The Ginkoba moment of concentration.
And it's Pete Weber here in the 10th frame. He knows with a strike here, he cannot lose. He musters up all the concentration, that great physical ability. It's high flush. He's your champion. And watch this reaction. I mean, he's having fun right now. He's just enjoying himself. That's today's Ginkoba moment of concentration. Think better. Think Ginkoba.
Pete Weber is the champion, the national champion here in Toledo. And we'll return to Ducat's Imperial Lanes right after this. Sharpen your concentration with Ginkoba, the natural supplement. Think better. Think Ginkoba. And by Columbia 300. Columbia bowls the world over.
That was a blast.
Back in Toledo, Ohio, where Pete Weber has defeated David Ozio in our championship match, 277 to 236. Pete Weber wins the PBA National Championship, and he's standing by now with Marshall Holman.
Thank you very much, Mike. I'm here with PBA Commissioner Mark Gerbrick with the Eddie Elias Trophy for our champion, Pete Weber.
Peter, congratulations. What a fantastic performance. It was really enjoyable to watch. On behalf of the founder, Eddie Elias, and his family, and the more than 3,000 members, we award you with the Eddie Elias Trophy.
And they said don't drop it, Pete. And also, we've got Daryl Ducat, the owner of Ducat's Imperial Lanes, with another trophy and a little bit of money from Mr. Weber.
Congratulations, Pete. You bowled great all week on a real tough condition. I know because I bowled on it. And congratulations.
Oh, man. I'd like to thank Daryl Ducat here and the whole staff here at Imperial Lanes. It's just a beautiful tournament every year. The fans are like the best people we bowl for all year long. Thank you. And too sweet!
Petey, I've seen you bowl on TV many times. I've seen you get a few bad breaks. Today, you had a little bit of the expanded pocket. You were kind of fortunate here and there.
Yeah, I threw a couple shots there. The one in the third when I blew the rack, I thought I might have 10 there. And especially when I tripped the 4 and the 9, that kind of just set me off. And the next time on that lane, I just threw it that much harder so I didn't go high.
Well, David Ozio gave you a great battle, and we want to congratulate David as well.
David's a fantastic champion. He's a member of my staff, too. What can I say? He bowled great all day. David, I'll see you again.
Well, I wouldn't doubt that. It's nice to see David Ozio bowling well again. And Pete, you're creeping up on Dick Weber as far as titles, and it's just amazing. I marvel every time I think about it. How can you do that? How did you handle the pressure of being Dick Weber's son?
Well, when I first came out, Dad said, Pete, all you got to do is be yourself. So all I've done every year, whether it be bad or good, I've been myself.
Well, you definitely have been yourself. And from the commissioner, I'm sure you must have a question for Mr. Weber.
Or the old way or the new way?
The new way.
The new way. Well,
The new way.
You know, I remember a young guy from Southern Oregon who used to show a little emotion, but I think that might have been the best display of tournament jubilation I've ever witnessed.
Well, Marshall, I can only learn it from the best at it.
All right, let's go back to Daryl Ducat, the proprietor here, with the check and the trophy.
Oh, you're going to say that?
You bet. Go ahead, Daryl.
Want to thank everybody. Great crowd this week, and we're going to be back next year, so hope you all can come back next year.
All right.
I want to give you this trophy, Pete. I'll give you the check for $28,000.
$28,000. That'll work, Petey.
That'll work, Pete.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, Daryl.
Now I can pay my taxes now.
My God, Pete, you can pay my taxes now. All right, once again, we're very proud of you. Congratulations. What a great victory. Your second PBA National Championship, working on getting all the majors a few times.
Marshall, this is fantastic. Again, Imperial Lanes and the National Championships have been great to me. Now, TSC, I need that, and I'll have my second Triple Crown. And the Masters, well, that's up for grabs.
Well, he's just a little bit greedy, and that's the way you have to be out here. When you're on a roll, you've got to take advantage of it. I don't think we'll be taking too many weeks off in the near future. You'll be in Erie next week.
Yes, I will, for the Storm Championship, and hopefully I'll be the one bringing that one home, too.
All right. Congratulations, Pete. Well, let's take it back up to you, Mike.
All right, Marshall, Pete, congratulations to Pete Weber. Now with 24 titles, that means he is now just 2 away from his dad, the great Dick Weber. Pete Weber, the winner of the 1998 PBA National Championship. Be sure to join us next Sunday from Eastway Lanes in Erie, Pennsylvania, as the PBA makes its 8th annual stop on the shores of Lake Erie. Catch all the action on ESPN at 4:30 Eastern. Coming up next on ESPN, it's tournament fishing, the Walmart FLW Tour. For Marshall Holman, I'm Mike Bush saying so long from Toledo. We'll see you in Erie. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.